Thank you very much for being here, and welcome to the kickoff of The Roar, the campaign for real Oakland administrative reform. Today, your elected watchdog officials, the city auditor and the city attorney, call upon the city council and the city administrator to enact a package of critical reforms to make sure city government is working effectively, transparently, and with real accountability for the people of Oakland. I am joined today, and happy to be joined today, by City Auditor Courtney Ruby, by my longtime colleague, Councilmember Patricia Kernahan, and representing the Office of City Council President Ignacio de la Fuente, Ratna Amin. Councilmember Kernahan is one of the co-sponsors of the whistleblower ordinance that's in the package and which passed the Finance Committee yesterday by a unanimous vote. Councilmember de la Fuente is a co-sponsor of the whistleblower ordinance and a sponsor of the anti-nepotism ordinance, which is in your package. For those of you in the press, the package that you have is not merely a set of proposals. They're actually enabling legislation, administrative instructions, reports that will go to the council in September. All of these will be on the city attorney's website with a special button by the end of the day today so that the public can read these things and comment upon them. This is a commitment to true transparency, not only in the reforms, but in how we get to those reforms. Let me get to the meat of what we're doing today. The events of the past several weeks have shaken the public's confidence in City Hall. Not only that, the latest controversy stirring up City Hall has been an unnecessary distraction and a huge waste of taxpayer resources and time that should have been spent addressing Oakland's many urgent needs, public safety being first among them. Regardless of whether recent allegations against the administration have any merit, there are systems missing in Oakland government that should be protecting us against the kinds of abuses we are hearing about. People are sick of hearing about unethical behavior, nepotism, and abuse of power in Oakland, and people have a right to be angry. And speaking for myself, I share that anger. Oakland deserves better. Oakland deserves a new day. The mayor has promised us a new day. It is time to get on with it. When in place, the 5 initiatives that are before the public will clean up the loose practices, gray areas, and counterproductive policies that have allowed this crisis of confidence to fester. Today, we are calling upon the council and the mayor. Those of us before you are calling upon the council and the mayor to 1, strengthen anti-nepotism rules. 2, reform personnel department procedures. 3, at long last fix records management in this city. 4, protect employee whistleblowers. And 5, establish a strong employee ethics program. We are bringing this administrative reform initiative forward so that Oakland's people can once again feel confident that their government is operating on the level. All of these initiatives, why now? All of these initiatives have been put forward by either the city attorney's office or the city auditor's office, sometimes both of us together, over the past several years. However, we were unable to get action from the city council or the recently departed city administrator. In the interest of showing the public that we are serious about reform, we are calling upon the Finance and Management Committee to take up the balance of these initiatives. They took up the whistleblower initiative yesterday. We are calling upon the Finance and Management Committee to take up these initiatives at its very first meeting in September, and we are calling upon the City Council to adopt these reforms by unanimous vote as soon as possible. This is Oakland's most important administrative reform package since 1997, the year that we passed the 2-year budget and our Sunshine Open Government Law. It's time for all of the elected officials in this town to stand up and be counted. Are you for honest, transparent government, or are you for keeping the game going as long as you can? Now, I want to speak to each of the proposals in sequence. First, to speak to the nepotism ordinance proposal, Ms. Ratna from the Office of Council President Ignacio de la Fuente.
Thank you, and thank you to the City Auditor and the City Attorney for their leadership on these reforms to hold our employees and officials to the highest ethical standards. The Council President is proposing a very strong anti-nepotism ordinance so Oaklanders can be assured that city government is free from nepotism, patronage, and favoritism. There are two main provisions in this proposed ordinance. The first is that the ordinance would prohibit relatives from working in the same chain of command. This includes both direct and indirect supervision. Second, the ordinance would prohibit relatives from influencing the terms of condition or hiring of their relatives. Disclosures would be required at the time of hiring to ensure the employees do not violate the ordinance, and a one-time cleanup will also be necessary to ensure that all current employees comply with the ordinance. This is the quality of anti-nepotism ordinance that Oaklanders and current and future city employees deserve, and we look forward to working with the whole city council, and the council president hopes to get their support and the support of the mayor to pass this ordinance and implement it properly. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to speak briefly about the three personnel reforms that you see in your package. The decision maker for this set of reforms is not the city council, but the city administrator working at the direction of the mayor. These three administrative reforms in the personnel area will involve the city attorney's office in all significant employee discipline matters at a much earlier stage than has been the practice over the past 5 years. It will correct flawed personnel procedures to reduce taxpayer liability, particularly in the area of disability accommodation, and it would ensure uniform application of disability accommodations. I'm pleased to report to you that I spoke with the mayor yesterday. He has agreed already to these three measures in principle and has assured me that Mr. Lindheim will work together with my staff on final details of these three provisions, and we anticipate having them signed and in effect by the end of this week. Next item, records management. The city's system for retention of public records is atrocious. For example, it is city policy to delete email from our servers after only 30 days. It is amazing to me that an operation of the magnitude of the city of Oakland would delete email from its servers after 30 days. We are a public agency. These days, as with most large organizations, a great and ever-increasing amount of our business is done through email. People don't use hard copy directives the way they did and memos. They use email. The permanent deletion of important directives, decisions, and electronic memoranda trails, paper trails, if you will, puts a shroud of secrecy over the workings of City Hall, prevents public officials from ever being held accountable for their actions. It is also difficult without retaining emails for a reasonable period of time. It is difficult for the elected watchdogs, the city auditor and the city attorney, to do our jobs when critical documentation supporting an audit trail cannot be found and key legal facts are deleted from our servers after only 1 month. We are also calling for a renewal of the Records Management Task Force. The auditor and I pushed the administration for this more than a year ago, but we were shut out of the process. And now, to further speak on the issue of records management and to speak to the question of the whistleblower ordinance and the ethics program, I'll introduce to you my partner in this initiative, City Auditor Courtney Ruby.